Hi everyone, my name's Mel. Welcome back to my bookshelf. So if you're new to this channel or you haven't watched my last few videos, you may not know that I am on a reading ban. So I am almost finished my masters at uni. I've got 3 weeks to go, and I have made it my mission not to read any physical books because I will get distracted and not do my uni work. So while I have been listening to audiobooks to save my sanity, I haven't been reading any physical books. So I've included like Kindle. I haven't read any written books. But I am here to confess that I may have accidentally read 2 books. I'm a failure. So I thought I would come here, I would own up to my failure, and I would tell you about the 2 books that I read because they were really good. I know. How can I accidentally read 2 books? Mel, how can you accidentally read a book? Well, I do have an excuse. It was illness. Both times. Once I was ill and the next time my daughter was ill, and I couldn't study. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So I had my second COVID vaccination, which is awesome. But the next day I wasn't very well. So I spent the whole day in bed, and I noticed on my bedside table that I had the binding there that I'd started to read weeks ago before my reading ban, but never continued on with. So I thought, well, I can't study right now, I feel ill. So I grabbed it and read the whole thing in between a couple of naps. So the binding is really hard to review without giving too much away, but I'll try. So it's a fantasy romance, and it's set in a world where books, people's memories that have been bound into books. It starts off with this guy called Emmett, and he has like this sickness of the mind, and he can't work on the family's farm anymore, and he's just not himself, and he gets a letter from a bookbinder saying that he's been chosen to be a binder's apprentice, and he can't actually say no to this, so he has to travel and become a bookbinder. So he puts the books together, and then he binds people's memories into the books. He goes and he starts doing this apprenticeship, and then a lot of stuff happens which I can't really talk about without spoiling it, but then he finds a book that's got his name on it, and so then it sort of jumps back in time to prior to his sickness, and what has happened in that time, and I can't really say any more without spoiling it because it's really easy to spoil. So it's predominantly an LGBT romance fantasy, and I really enjoyed it. The premise was really unique. I loved the characters, I loved the romance, I loved the fantasy world that Collins created, which was sort of dark and bleak yet beautiful at the same time. And just the atmosphere, as you read through the pages, it just put you in this magical, mystical place, and it was addictive, and I really enjoyed it. And I devoured it in bed in one go when I was sick. It was a very welcome distraction, and I give it 4 stars. So the next book I read accidentally was totally justified, and anyone who's a parent will probably agree with me. So my daughter was quite sick last week, and she was off daycare, and there was one day where she was literally glued to me the entire day. So we pretty much just sat on the couch trying to make her feel better, and she wanted to watch Frozen 2, not once, not twice, but 3 times straight. And you know, you have a sick child, so you let them watch whatever the hell they want to watch. So she watched Frozen 2 3 times. Now, I like Frozen 2 as much as the next mum who's been forced to watch it 1,000,000 times, but 3 times straight is a bit much for even me. So I zoned out after about 5 minutes and got my Kindle and read a whole book. I read The Sundown Motel in one go whilst the songs were happening. This one's set in 2 time periods. So in 1982, a young woman named Vivian gets a job at a local motel, which is called the Sundown. So she works at night, manning the desk, and it's dark and bleak and dirty, and let's just say the guests are not the only occupants of this motel. So Vivian makes it her quest to discover what's going on in the hotel and to discover why there's been a whole bunch of girls that have disappeared lately. Then it skips forward to 2017, and a character named Carly has just lost her mother, and she goes to the same town to figure out what happened to her Aunt Vivian over 30 years prior. So nobody knows what happened to her, and it's just about her sort of discovering, following the footsteps literally. She gets a job, the same job at night at the motel, and she wants to discover what happened to her aunt. It's sort of in memory of her mother. So it was a really solid little thriller / horror. I absolutely loved the different time periods and how they weaved together just at the right times to sort of to form the story and to reveal the twists and the turns, and everything sort of led to this ultimate conclusion, which was really satisfying. And I really, really enjoyed this one. Solid 4 stars. The only problem with it was that I do tend to figure out the twists before they happen, and I did in this one quite early on, but it didn't stop the enjoyment of the story, and I really loved the characters, and had a little bit of romance but not too much romance, and it was just a really, really good read and a really good distraction. So I also listened to a couple of audiobooks since I updated last, but I won't go into them now because I don't have time, because I do have study to do. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.